The night was suffocatingly dark, as if the world itself was holding its breath. A sliver of moon hung in the sky like a sinister, crooked smile, barely casting enough light to reveal the ancient tombstones that loomed around us like silent sentinels. My friends, Liam and Chloe, pressed close to me, their faces pale and eyes wide with dread. The air was icy, wrapping around us like a shroud, our breath rising in ghostly plumes that vanished into the blackness. We stood in Blackwood Cemetery, a place where every stone whispered of death, and every shadow seemed to hide something watching. Our flashlights shook in our hands, their thin beams slicing through the suffocating gloom, never quite reaching the edges of the darkness. We told ourselves we were here to find ghosts, but deep down, we all felt the graveyard's hunger for the living. It was supposed to be a harmless dare, a game to prove our courage, but the laughter died quickly, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The wind slithered through the twisted yew trees, carrying with it a chorus of mournful sighs that sounded almost human. Liam tried to act brave, but even his voice trembled as he led us deeper into the heart of the graveyard. He walked ahead, kicking at loose stones, his voice echoing into the void, daring the dead to answer. "Is anyone out there?" he shouted, his words bouncing back warped and hollow, as if the graves themselves were mocking him. Chloe clung to my arm, her grip so tight it hurt, her body shaking with terror. "Maybe this was a bad idea," she whispered, her voice barely audible, eyes darting from shadow to shadow as if expecting something to lunge from the darkness. I tried to hide my fear, but my heart hammered so violently I thought it might burst, each beat echoing in my ears like a warning. Every shifting shadow seemed to crawl closer, every rustle of leaves sounded like something creeping just out of sight. We were just children, but the graveyard felt alive, ancient and hungry for trespassers. It was a place that wanted us gone, or worse, wanted us to stay forever. We crept deeper, past crumbling angels with broken faces and crosses that seemed to lean toward us, accusing. The names on the graves were erased by time, as if the dead themselves had been forgotten, or erased. At the center we found a mausoleum, its ornate stonework twisted with age, looming like a tomb for nightmares. Its iron door gaped open, a black mouth yawning wide, promising only darkness and dread. This was our final dare. We hesitated, the silence pressing in, daring us to cross the threshold. Liam pushed the door, and it groaned open with a sound so chilling it seemed to echo from the grave itself. Our flashlights revealed stone shelves thick with dust, the air inside heavy with the stench of rot and secrets best left undisturbed. The smell of damp earth and decay clawed at our throats, making it hard to breathe. I forced myself to breathe, every instinct screaming to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. Then from the blackest corner, a shadow peeled itself away from the darkness, impossibly slow and deliberate. It was not a trick of the light. A man stood there, tall, motionless, his presence radiating cold malice. He glided forward, silent as death, his movements unnatural, as if he floated rather than walked. He wore a long, dark coat, and his face was so pale it seemed to glow, eyes glinting with a hunger older than the graves. He looked at us, not with curiosity, but with a chilling, ancient amusement that promised nothing but horror. We stood paralyzed, our flashlights shaking so violently the beams danced across the walls like frantic spirits. The air thickened, pressing in on us, and the playful fear from before curdled into pure, suffocating terror. The game was over. Something far worse had begun. We were no longer hunters. We were prey, lost in a place that feasted on fear. We were just three terrified kids, trapped in the heart of a graveyard with something that did not belong to the world of the living, and it was hungry. The man smiled, but it was a smile that chilled the blood, a twisted predatory grin that seemed to hunger for suffering. It was sharp and inhuman, a smile that belonged to something that stalked nightmares. But his eyes were the true horror. In the moon's sickly glow, they burned with a crimson fire, like coals in the heart of a dying world, promising only death. "Looking for lost souls?" he asked, his voice a velvet whisper that slithered into my mind, cold and suffocating as if it could coil around my thoughts and squeeze. It was a voice that promised forbidden secrets and unspeakable danger, each word a shadow that crept beneath my skin. Terror rooted us to the spot. We were statues, paralyzed by the hypnotic, supernatural force of his gaze, as if the night itself had turned against us. Liam, his voice barely more than a trembling whisper, managed to stammer, Who are you?" The man's smile stretched wider, impossibly wide, revealing fangs that gleamed like knives, teeth made for tearing flesh, not for smiling. "I am a keeper of souls," he intoned, stepping forward with a predator's grace, each movement radiating ancient inhuman hunger. "I know many who are lost. I could introduce you if you like, you could join them." His words dripped with malice, an invitation to oblivion. His offer was both a promise and a curse. The price was written in the ravenous gleam of his eyes, an unspoken hunger for our souls. He surveyed us, gaze flicking from Liam to Chloe to me, as if savoring the terror, choosing which of us would die first. The night itself seemed to recoil. The wind died, the crickets fell silent, and a suffocating stillness pressed in, as if the world was bracing for a massacre. Chloe's sobs broke the silence, her fear shattering the spell for a moment, but it was too late. Dread had already claimed us. The man lunged, a blur of darkness and death. One heartbeat he was distant, the next he was upon Liam, moving with impossible supernatural speed. There was no time to scream, no chance to fight. He seized Liam and his fangs plunged into flesh with a sickening animal ferocity. A wet, gurgling sound escaped Liam's throat as his body went limp, his flashlight tumbling to the ground, swallowed by the darkness. Chloe's scream tore through the night, a shriek of pure primal terror that seemed to make the shadows themselves shudder. She tried to flee, but the man was a living nightmare, a blur of blackness that hunted her down in an instant. He fell upon her with monstrous efficiency, his attack brutal, merciless, feeding as if nothing human remained within him. I was paralyzed, forced to witness the carnage, my mind fracturing under the weight of the horror before me. He let Chloe's body fall beside Liam's, then turned, his gaze locking onto me with predatory intent. His face was a mask of blood, his eyes burning with a hellish supernatural light that promised only death. I was alone, the last survivor, certain that my fate was sealed, to die and rot beside my friends in the cold, haunted earth. He approached with agonizing slowness, savoring my terror, each step a drumbeat of doom echoing in my chest. "You," he whispered, his voice thick with a dark, twisted approval. "You did not scream, you did not run. There is a darkness in you too." He loomed over me, so close I could taste the metallic tang of blood on his breath, the air thick with the stench of death. "You will not die tonight. You will be reborn." His words were a curse, a promise of something far worse than death. Then his fangs pierced my neck, and agony exploded through me, a searing, icy pain that dragged me into a bottomless, eternal darkness. I clawed my way out of suffocating darkness, entombed in a coffin. At first I believed I was trapped in a nightmare, a feverish vision spawned from the graveyard's cold grip. But the lid above me was horribly real, its polished wood pressing down like a tombstone. The air was thick, stale, and tasted of decay. Panic erupted inside me, icy and merciless, but it was no longer the fear of a helpless child. It was something monstrous, ancient, and ravenous. My hands forced the lid open with unnatural strength. I rose, gasping, into a cavernous chamber lined with coffins, each one a silent promise of death. My new master waited in the gloom, his eyes burning red like coals in a corpse's skull, watching me with a predator's patience. He called himself Corvus. His words were a death sentence and a rebirth. I was no longer human. I was a vampire, a thing of hunger and shadow. The hunger gnawing at me was not for food but for blood, hot, living blood. My veins thrummed with a sinister power, a curse disguised as a gift. Corvus taught me to master the hunger, to obey the ancient, unbreakable laws of our kind, rules written in blood and fear. By day we hid in coffins, shunning the sun's deadly touch. Even a single ray could reduce us to smoldering ash. At night we rose with the moon, slipping like phantoms through the darkness, unseen and unstoppable. Terror haunted me. The world I once knew was obliterated, replaced by a realm of endless night and lurking horrors. My family, my school, my old life, now nothing but fading ghosts forever out of reach. Corvus became my dark guide, my mentor in this nightmare existence. He showed me how to twist my flesh, to become something else, something monstrous. I learned to dissolve into a writhing swarm of bats, each wing beat echoing the terror of my new form. I became a monstrous black wolf stalking the moonlit woods, senses sharpened to every heartbeat in the darkness. Corvus taught me to bend mortal minds, to enslave their will with a glance, to erase myself from their memories as if I had never existed. We became the hunters, stalking the city's sleeping masses, feeding on their dreams and their blood. The terror that once ruled me was replaced by a cold, exultant power, a thrill that bordered on madness. We lived in decadent splendor, surrounded by relics of centuries past, every luxury tainted by the knowledge of what we had become. Our lair was a sprawling, haunted mansion, shrouded in mist and secrets, hidden from the world of the living. We crossed continents beneath the cover of darkness, haunting the world's great cities, always as predators, never as prey. We wandered through silent museums after midnight, surrounded by the relics of the dead, our footsteps echoing in the emptiness. In the world's most exclusive clubs, we were the beautiful monsters, drawing mortals to us with a magnetic dread, their fascination masking their fear. We were forever young, forever cursed, forever lurking at the edge of humanity, immortal nightmares haunting the world from the shadows. Our nights were a feverish blur of terror and adrenaline. Every shadow a threat, every heartbeat a warning. We were the monsters that haunted the midnight hour, unseen and unstoppable. From the tallest skyscrapers, we gazed down at the city, a glittering graveyard, oblivious to the predators above. The world of humans looked so fragile, so breakable from our cold vantage point. We hovered above it all, untouchable, our hearts hardened by the hunt. We played cruel games with mortals, weaving nightmares into their minds, whispering horrors that would haunt their dreams. Their terror was our sport. The flicker of fear in their eyes was unmistakable, a primal recognition that something inhuman stalked the night. That fear was intoxicating, a dark nectar that fueled our hunger. It was proof of our dominance, a chilling reminder of the power we wielded. But the night was not only about fear. There was a haunting beauty in our cursed existence, a serenity found only in the silence before the next scream. I saw the world through eyes sharpened by darkness, perceiving every secret, every hidden fear. My senses were razor sharp, tuned to the faintest tremor of terror. I could hear a heartbeat quicken with dread from across a crowded room. I could see every sinister hue of the night, from the bruised violet sky to the moon's cold gleam on blood-slick pavement. The city pulsed with restless energy, a symphony of fear and longing that played just for us. Corvus and I stalked the shadows, twin predators in a labyrinth of nightmares. We were bound in a blood pact, partners in an endless waltz of predation and secrecy, our hands forever stained. Yet there were moments when the horror faded, replaced by a chilling silence. In the dead hours before dawn, I would remember the life I lost. I would recall Liam and Chloe, and a cold ache would pierce my undead heart. Once I was prey. Now I'm the nightmare that hunts. My transformation was as merciless as it was complete. The memories of my old self are fading like a ghost story whispered in the dark. The boy who chased phantoms in graveyards is gone, swallowed by the darkness he once feared. He died in terror, and from his blood and fear, I was born. My new self is forged in dread, more vivid and unyielding than any mortal could imagine. As the first pale light of dawn creeps across the sky, I retreat to my coffin. I feel no regret, no remorse, only the cold certainty of my monstrous existence. I am a terror in the night, a being of endless hunger and immortal dread. The fear that once consumed me has become my strength, my constant companion. I welcome the darkness within. I surrender to the hunger that defines me. I am the nightmare that walks beneath the moon. The night is mine. This eternal, thrilling, and terrifying existence is my curse and my power. As I close the lid on the world of the living, I hunger for the next night, when the moon will summon me to hunt again. I'm exactly where the darkness wants me to be.